Hello friends and followers and fellow flight simmers, welcome back to yet another tutorial and review video in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I said tutorial slash review because this is what exactly this video is going to be. I think this is going to be a three-part video series about the aircraft you see in the background, which is a Carenado Piper P34T Seneca 5. I recently grabbed this aircraft. I think it's fun to fly and good aircraft as opposed to or relative to the default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I always wanted a dual engine GA aircraft that functions a little bit better than the default ones. And I know this has been around for a while and there are some mixed reviews about this aircraft, but I wasn't able to find a decent one that explains the systems, avionics, instruments and the procedures of this aircraft. And I decided to give it a go and also record my own style of tutorials with this aircraft as well. What we will do today, before even starting into talking about the instruments and avionics and startup procedure, whatnot, we will take a look at the exterior model of the aircraft. We'll do a review of what you get with the money you pay if you are looking for a GA aircraft, and I hope this video is helpful to you to make a decision on which one. There are not too many payware aircraft that has dual engines. There are a lot with a single engine propeller aircraft, but there is no limited number of dual engine ones, and this is one of the best ones in my opinion, and we will discuss why I think that way and try to explain all the bells and whistles. Let's start with going around the aircraft and take a look at the exterior model. The static elements you see here, the cones, the tow bar, the engine covers, are controlled by the tablet in the cockpit that you can turn them on or off. Pretty much like any other aircraft, there is a tablet that makes things a little bit easier. I think this is great to have these additional equipment around the aircraft that adds to the realism a lot more, and the texture quality is actually quite nice. I am surprised with how good the textures look on this aircraft. I'm using my keyboard, not my Xbox controller, so the camera angles might not be perfect, but look at those textures. Remove before flight, the propeller textures, even the airframe or fuselage textures are great. Tow bar looks nice, and if I go around, the cockpit door is open, as well as the passenger door and cargo doors. There are two cargo bays, one in the front and one in the back, and even the interior looks nice, with less quality textures, I would say, than you see in the outside. I'm trying to get closer to that texture you see there. If the keyboard cooperates with me, sorry about that. As you see, these are not as nice as the ones you see outside, but I think that's acceptable. Other than that, I'll try to find an angle where you see the light shining through the fuselage and you see the body pins, the body panels and the seams. It's nicely done, I would say. Let's take a look at the wings, and same thing on the wings as well. Body pins, nice 3D model, PBR materials, a lot of detail. Labels and everything, and the cockpit looks awesome. The interior looks awesome as well, which we will take a look here in a second. The antennas or the fins here, the antennas, I believe these are the radio antennas. They are nicely modeled and they animate when you are up in the air. They just vibrate with the wind, which we will also take a look. No push, as you see, all the textures are quite readable and nicely done. I think the exterior model of this aircraft looks really nice. and you get the option to add a ground power unit, wheel chocks, cones, and the engine covers, and the tow bar through the tablet, which are nice additions to have. A very nice model, looks great, and that's the tablet you see here in the cockpit at the pilot seat. And I think from a 3D modeling standpoint, let's take a look at the wheel base as well. Again, nicely done, good textures, maybe not as good as the exterior or the visible ones, but I think this is nicely done. And this aircraft looks great. The livery I have here is from flightsim.to that you can also find in there. There are a number of liveries. They are all kind of GA liveries with stripes and whatnot. So, but this one I like a lot. This looks great, and I think overall a nicely modeled aircraft we have here. Alright, let's jump into the cockpit and take a look at the interior modeling and textures. As you see, that's the tablet that I was talking about. We will come back to this. That button turns it off, and you can turn it on by, or bring it back by clicking on the yoke. Interior textures, I think they are quite readable, even from a distance. All the instruments I can read from here. I can get closer, and some of the text gets blurry, but I think all in all it's great, and nice readability and visibility in the cockpit. Very nicely done instrument stack. The yoke textures and the reflections, they are all nice. Throttle quadrant, very nice. Warning lights up top here, they also look great. Avionics stack, this one comes with a GNS 530 and GNS 430, and you can also opt for a mod GTN 750, Garmin Touchscreen Navigation 750. If you download it from PMS50.com, there's a free version and there's a payware version. Payware version obviously has more function, but it costs a lot of money. If you want to stick to the free version, which I have, that brings this radio unit here, which is a touchscreen navigation unit that you can use, but I like to use the GNS 530. I also have a mod that improves 530 a lot along with the 430, so I will place the link into the description field of the video if you want to go and grab it. It changes this unit and adds a lot more functionality to the unit as well. I am also using a black interior texture from flightsim.to. The default is cream, so if you are wondering why my cockpit looks black, that's why. All in all, panning around the cockpit, I think everything looks great. The doors are operational through these levers. You can lock and unlock them. Overhead panel, we have all the engine switches, lights, and then two dome lights that shine through this light base up top. There's a little window that you can open as well, which has a limitation, so do not open above 129 knots or indicated airspeed. It will crash you if you do. Seat textures, I think they look awesome, as well as the cabin textures around the cabin, looks great. Middle console as well. Let's go to the passenger seat and take a look at here too. The cabin is also nicely modeled. Cup holders, there's an armrest there. You can close the door through here, and interestingly you have light switches that operates and turns on and off the cabin lights. There's a desk table that you can bring up or stow away, which is also nice. And this is first time I see something like this in an aircraft. You have working window blinds that you can turn off or shut down or open and back up if you want to, and they are all four are functional and works. And when you close them, this is also reflected on the outside, that you don't see the windows because they are closed. Yeah, and that one also, I believe, works. Yep, it does. And I think this is about it when it comes to the cockpit. That cargo area right there, the straps to secure the cargo, and all the textures as well here as well are readable and nicely done. Yeah, I think this aircraft model looks great. And you saw that glitch, that's a bug when you set your custom camera views and switch one from one view to the other. As you see, this happens. So not sure why, but I discovered that during my testing. Alright, so that's the modeling of the interior and the exterior. I think for the money you are paying, you are getting a decent 3D modeled aircraft with decent textures and very nice looking cabin, in my opinion. Alright, next up, let me see. We have spent 11 minutes now. Next up, we will discuss the instruments and the radio stack and what each one of these instruments display. And we'll probably do the cold and dark startup procedure and end this video there. And then we will continue this series with flight planning, taxi procedure, takeoff, and then cruise, descent, landing. So this will be probably either 2 or 3 episode video, depends on how long the recordings will be, but I'm gonna try to keep them around 30 minutes. Alright, let's start with the overhead panel and what switches we have here. Over on this side you have the strobe lights and the beacon, which says fin strobe. So this is a 3-way rocker switch. Pressing down will turn the beacon on, middle position is off, and the up position is the strobe lights at the wingtips. Nav lights and taxi lights, self-explanatory. Landing lights are also a 3 level rocker switch. Landing lights steady, off in the middle, and then pulsing lights in the down position. Left engine starter switch, left engine magnetos are here. Left engine fuel pump is here, or auxiliary fuel pump. No, not auxiliary, this is the left engine fuel pump. Left engine alternator. Battery master switch, right engine alternator, right engine fuel pump, right engine magnetos, and right engine starter switch. These 2 knobs control the dome lights that shine through these light bays, and that's the overhead panel. Aside from this, there is nothing else. The sun visors do work. Let's continue with the instrument panel down here. Let's get a little bit closer. I think this is good enough so that we can see everything like that. Let's go from top to bottom, left to right. This is a digital clock. Nothing is clickable, so it displays the local time. Airspeed indicator. Flight mode initiation panel, FMA, this is an LCD. Sorry about that. DME, again, this is the DME equipment that displays the distance for our Avionics DME. This is a digital engine instrument gauge that displays a lot of information, which we will speak when we start the engines. We talked about the airspeed indicator, horizontal status indicator, in other words HSI, altimeter, and your engine instruments here, which I will come here in a second after covering these. MV2 course deviation indicator, CDI, turn coordinator, and the ball. Your main CDI for nav radio, nav1, vertical speed indicator, and ADF radio needle here. This is the engine's instruments stack. I call them T's and P's, temperature and pressure gauges. Manifold pressure for both engines, left and right. RPM for both engines, left and right. Turbine inlet temperature, this is the temperature of the turbo, This aircraft comes with turbocharged, fuel-injected engines. This gauge is used to lean the engine, which we will discuss when we get to the cruise level. These gauges, left side is fuel flow, right side is cylinder head temperature. Again, dual gauge, left side is oil temperature, right side is oil pressure. Down below is your vacuum indicator, and then your fuel quantity indicator or gauge right here. This guy is the oxygen supply pressure gauge. This aircraft comes equipped with oxygen. When you climb about 12,500 feet, you have to have oxygen in the cabin according to FAA's rules. It's nice to see this is modeled and working, even if you don't get to see the effects of low oxygen, or it's not simulated in this simulator yet. Maybe in a future state it will, but yeah. Down below you have the electrical test. I think this is electrical, so this will test, and then pressing arm will silence it. Parking brake panel, dimmer switches for avionics switches and panel lights, gear indicator, 3 green lights for the gear, and this is the emergency gear extension, which is not working. Gear lever is here, and that is the pilot side instrument stack. Let's move to the avionics and co-pilot side. We'll take a look at the avionics a little bit closer when we get there. We have a couple switches down below, but we'll again do from top to bottom, left to right. Your radio control panel, your avionics, GPS and nav radios here, Garmin GNS 530 and at 430, dual stack navigation. Your switches down here, and the prop de-icer amp meter or M meter, surface de-ice switch, prop heat, windshield heat, ice light on the wings, and then the pitot heat or stall heat is here. Coming over here, your autopilot is a very basic one, and we'll discuss about this in detail, but this doesn't have a flight level change mod. You are limited to vertical speed for climb and descent, altitude hold, reverse or back course, navigation mode, approach, nav mode, and heading hold. This guy is the weather radar. It works, it functions. Sometimes it has a glitch, it doesn't update the weather information, but I saw it working, so I can confirm it works. Down below is the transponder, where you enter your squawk code, your avionics master switch, flight director and autopilot master switch, and yaw damper and ground clear. These two are not operational. I wish they were, but they are not. Your flap lever, your ADF radio is here, and fan and air nav 2 switch. These don't work as well. Over here, co-pilot's instruments, airspeed indicator, horizontal status indicator, altimeter, turn coordinator, a basic heading indicator, and a vertical speed indicator. And down on this far right side we have the airframe hours. Down below is your circuit breaker panel. Unfortunately, this is not clickable, or they don't pop out. This is not modeled and simulated, but it is there for a cockpit model standpoint. It's nice to have it. And in the middle you have your throttle quadrant, prop, RPM, control levers, mixture, and the throttle, alternate air levers, prop sync button that syncs two propellers, and it will sync based on the RPM of the left or right engine, or engine number 1 or 2. Your cowl flaps, they are working, they do open, and it's animated. You see them opening on the outside as well under the engines. So that's the instrument panel and radio stack, and what each gauge does. And aside from that, I'm just looking around to see if I missed anything, but I don't think I did. Oh, the middle between seats, yeah, a couple more switches here, your elevator trim, your rudder trim here, and then your fuel control switches to turn the fuel on or go to crossfeed both engines from both tanks. The heat switches over here and the defrost, they don't work, and these control switches for air intake and warmer, they don't work as well. Aside from these, everything in the cockpit is clickable, except that one too. This yaw damper trim is also not working, and this other switch or knob you see here, storm scope, this one doesn't work as well. But other than these very limited number of switches, everything in this cockpit is clickable and interacts with the pilot, which is nice to see and have. Let's bring the yoke back and also bring the tablet back and go to the first. And let's talk about the tablet before we do the startup procedure. As you see, this has the static elements where you can open and close the doors, and you can also put the co-pilot and pilot models so that you can see them from outside. Right now there is no pilot or co-pilot in the cockpit, as you see, but you can put them in here after removing these static elements. When they are on, you can't put the pilot and co-pilot. Let's close the doors and hope that they are closed. Yep, they are. And now I can put the pilot and co-pilot, and you will be able to see them from outside, as you see here. Alright, so that's the first page. Second page, as we discussed, you can bring the GTN 750 to the radio stack if you want to use that free mod. Third, the startup options, you can do a cold and dark cockpit to activate that, or ready for taxi and ready for takeoff. This will start the aircraft and get it ready for you. There's a basic takeoff checklist and a basic landing checklist, and that's all the tablet has. Aside from this, I think controlling the static elements and pilot models, I think that's about it. Other than that, I cannot think of anything else that tablet has, but it's quite enough, it's functional, and it gets the job done, so no complaints there. Let me see, now we are 23 minutes into the video, and let's just continue with cold and dark startup procedure. Why the door is still open? Do we have the... and this is like backwards. Passenger door is now showing open, but because I opened it from here, I think that's a bug as well that we discovered here. So if I go to the tablet, it's not updating, and you have to now, yep, it's closed now. So be mindful of these bugs. I'm pretty sure Carenado will fix these as we get new revisions of this aircraft, but let's continue with the engine start procedure. So we will assume that we did all the pre-flight checks, which we went through the document, we went through the switches, knobs, and seeing their positions. So we will directly go into the engine start normal operation. Parking brake is set, avionics and radios are off, cowl flaps open. They are open now. Alternate air is off. This is this guy. Down position is on. Up position is off. So it's off. Alternators on the overhead panel are now on. I'm using my controller to turn them on. So alternators are on. Field selectors between seats are going both to on position. That is done. Throttle, will open the throttle half an inch, and we'll start with left engine, so that's half an inch to me. Propeller control is full forward, that's these blue levers here, and we'll turn the beacon on after turning the battery master on. So battery master on, and we'll turn the beacon light on, and I'll show you which one it is on the outside. That's that guy right here that's flashing, that's the beacon light. Alright, so the battery switch is now on, beacon is now on. Fuel pumps will go to the overhead. We'll turn the fuel pump of the left engine first. That's now on. Left magnetos are also on. I left them on when I was testing before recording, so that's now on, and right magnetos are off now. Left magnetos on, and we will go down, cycle the mixture to prime the engine. That's done. And let's check the propeller area to make sure it's clear. Clear prop. Let's open this window to hear the engine. And what we do to start is we press the starter switch. I will use my controller for this, and then we will add some fuel by advancing the mixture. Alright, let's do this. Starter switch on, engine is cranking. I am increasing and adding fuel and going to full mixture. The RPM we need to set it around 1000 for idling, and it will start warming the engine. Alright, that sounds about, or that looks about right. 1000 RPM. Let's get rid of the yoke and check the T's and P's. So RPM 1000, manifold pressure is in the green and at minimum. Turbine inlet temperature, you will see this rising as the engine warms up and as we add more power or throttle. Cylinder head temperature is warming up. Fuel flow is displaying. We have oil pressure and oil temperature rising, so that's good. And we have vacuum gauge displaying vacuum. All T's and P's are good. And we'll continue and do the same thing with the left engine. So left magnetos to on, right magnetos to on, not left engine, right engine. Right fuel pump on, and we'll cycle the mixture to prime the fuel. Check the prop area, clear prop, hit the starter switch, and then add fuel by increasing the mixture. And we will also set this for 1000 RPM, which is already set. Check the T's and P's, all green. These lights will display in green, so they will display red if it's outside the range, operational range. You'll see red lights displayed. Cylinder head temperature will rise. As you see, this one is already rising, this one started to warm up. Oil pressure, oil temperature is looking good, and the vacuum gauge is displaying green. So good engine start for both engines. Let's close the window to get some silence in the cockpit. There we go, that's better. And after starting the engines, we'll see what else we got left. We'll turn off the fuel pumps now. Both engines started. Mixture is full rich. Oil pressure, gyro suction, we checked those. Everything looks fine. We'll turn the avionics on now as everything comes to life. As you see now, it's displayed. Weather radar, will keep it at standby, and we'll turn the transponder to standby, and that is the startup for us. Aside from this, we'll turn the pitot heat, which is displayed here as a warning telling us that it's not on. That's this switch right here, prior to takeoff. Alright, so all good information right here. Let me get closer to that digital display and discuss that, and then we will end the video here after taking a look at the digital display. We'll go all the way to the left. This is displaying the temperature information. Cabin, outside. Cabin is always 23 degrees. I didn't see it changing, so I think that's hard coded or something, and the cabin temperature differentiation or difference or increase and decrease is not simulated based on outside air condition or weather conditions. Next up is the fuel display. Left and right tank fuel quantities are displayed here and nothing else. These arrows actually do work. Oh, by the way, temperatures, the selection switches between Fahrenheit and Celsius, and as you see, this is hard coded. It doesn't change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So 23 Fahrenheit in the cockpit is freezing temperatures. So I don't know why they missed this, but it's also one of the bugs that I discovered. So that's why I keep it at Celsius. Alrighty. Fuel instruments, that's these analog gauges you see here, are also displayed in digital. Manifold pressure, RPM, turbine inlet temperature. Scroll down. Fuel flow, gallons per hour, cylinder head temperature, oil temperature, oil pressure, and vacuum display is also displayed digitally here, which is quite handy when you are trying to set and do some fine-tuning. Next page is the electrical information, amps generated by both alternators, system voltage. This in the book says needs to be at 28 volts, so I'm not sure if this is hard coded and missed as well, like the other thing about temperature. Battery charge, if your batteries are charging, you will see the amps displayed here if the battery is being charged. And aside from this, there is no information or no additional pages. And this exceed or AXCD, so remaining fuel, used fuel, and based on our current burn, what kind of fuel we will end up with. I didn't really understand what this displays, but I'm not using it as often as I use the others, so it's all good. That's what you get from that display. Let's go outside and listen to the engines. These engines sound like a muscle car, if you ask me, and you see the vibrations and everything being simulated and modeled, which is nice to see. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video about this Piper P34T Seneca from Carenado. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It helps with the YouTube algorithm for this video to reach other users. And if you are not a channel subscriber, I highly recommend considering subscribing to the channel and turning on the notifications to get notified for the future episodes and the live stream schedule. For those of you who are already subscribed to the channel, I appreciate you and thanks for the help and continuous support so far. And let me know what you think about this aircraft after seeing this tutorial in the comments, and what you want to see in the next episode, and what I should cover aside from what I'm thinking I will be covering in the next tutorial / review video. Again, thanks for being here watching the video, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode.